In this lecture, you are going to learn how to set up database interactivity when using the Legato framework to build your application. So let's get back to the test editor. The very first thing that we want to do to set up our database is to update our environment variable configuration. So right here under database credentials, we need to specify the various credentials that we want to use for our database. So the very first option that we need to configure here will be the driver. The default driver is MySQL. We're going to leave it like that. And then we need to specify the host. So this is where our database is located. And right now this is located in our local host. And then we need to specify the name of the database, the username, and also the password. So I'm just going to change the DB name to links, and then we are going to create this database right now. So let's come to phpMyAdmin, so db.local, and then we want to create a new database called links. So for testing purpose, I'm just going to create one table. Let's call this users. And then we want to specify some columns. So let's say we want to have 5 or 6. Okay, so we can come back later to change all of this. This is just for us to test if our database connectivity is working. So this is going to be an auto increment feed, and it's also going to be the primary key. So just click on go. Then we can specify the size, or we leave the default, say 11. Then the next one will be the username. So this is going to be of type voucher. Let's set this to maximum 20, and then this should be unique. So let's say we want this to be unique. Let's give it a key called username, and then the next one is going to be the email. This is also going to be voucher, so let's make this 255. The email is also going to be unique. And here we want to create a single column index. Okay, so we don't want to create a composite index. That will mean that it will only be unique if username and email is the same. So we don't want that. We want a single column index. So we give this email or IDX, email index. And then the next one we want to say avatar. Let's make this voucher 255. Then we can set this to none. And then the next one will be activated. So let's set this to tiny int and set this to a value of 0 by default. Set the length to 1 and then set a default value of 0. And then we need to specify a few more columns. First one will be created at for recording of the dates when this particular user account was created. So this will be of type timestamp. You can set this to be nullable. We want to add 1 or 2 more columns. So let's say we want to add 1 more. Then this should be updated at. So updated at. This is also going to be a timestamp. Set it to be nullable. So the reason why I'm adding this is because the Legato framework uses the Eloquent ORM, and the Eloquent ORM expects you to have these 2 feeds inside of your database, unless if you want to avoid including these 2 feeds in your database, you need to actually modify the code, as you can actually see in the documentation. Now we can actually save this. So I'm going to click on save, and we have one table right here. So let's quickly fill in some dummy data. So we're just going to say username should be Tedia, email should be Terry at example.com, avatar is null, activated is 1, set the timestamp to be some date. Then let's also set this to be same. So let's click on go. Incorrect integer value for column ID. The ID should be auto increment. So we could actually just come here. Let's look at the structure again. So this is a primary key column, and then let's see, is it auto increment? No. So I actually clicked on the wrong box. So let's edit that. And then now we can insert. So this is Tedia. This is Terry at example.com. Should be 1. And then this should be the date that I copied previously. And then we want to save. Okay, so it's complaining that it already created this username Tedia. But the problem is it created it using the wrong ID. So complaints for the email. So let's change this to something, TerryX. Then let's just say go. Say browse. Okay, so this is 1 and this is 4. So what I basically want to do now is just delete this and then going to make things all right here because I did make a mistake there. So let's set auto increment to be back to 1. Just click on go. All right, so now we have 1 record in our database. Let's now get back again to the test editor and see how we can just quickly grab data from the database. So now we want to come inside of index controller. So let's just comment at this. We can actually just delete this. And then here we want to say users should be equal to user. Forget that we have 1 model already defined. And then say we want to get all of the record from the users table. So this is using Eloquent. So we can come here and then say compat user, or we can just do a die and dump on user. So we can say dd users. So before we view this on the browser, if you look at my test editor line 5 here, you can see that a use statement was imported, which is use app models user. Okay, so if your test editor does not do that, you need to actually include this line 5. So let's come inside of the users class, which is inside of model. So we can say class user extends Fluent. Now let us try to view this on the browser. So come here. So just remove this and then go back to the home page. Invalid catalog name, no database selected. We do know that we are selecting a database which is called links, and then we have this table called users. So let us first check our .env file just to be sure. So right here we are saying db underscore database. So let's check this against the documentation. So come back again to Chrome and then here database. And here you can see that it is expecting this environment variable db underscore name. So let's come back and just fix that. So this should be db underscore name, and then we can do a reload again. And right now we can get the data from the table as a collection. So we can actually see the raw data. So that's how easy it is to set up your database connection using the Legato framework. You're going to learn more about databases later, how we can create records, how we can manipulate database record using Eloquent and Query Builder. I'll see you in the next lecture.